Why 157 migrants have got citizenship certification now, what these new certificates mean for India, and why this move is historical as well as controversial, and is this the return of CAA in a controversial way. CAA is back, this time not as a debate but as an implemented reality. Gujarat and Odisha have handed out 157 citizenship certificates declaring that CAA is fully operational now. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh. Today we are going to understand the details around the Citizenship Amendment Act, what brought in this citizenship certification, what it signifies and everything around it. So let us begin with understanding that what exactly has unfolded. So as of now, Indian citizenship has been granted to 157 immigrants, including 122 migrants from Pakistan, and then we have 35 migrants from Bangladesh. Now, when we are talking about Indian citizenship being granted to these 157 migrants, the most important fact here is that this has been granted under Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019. And that is why this news becomes automatically important from the perspective of exam, because when CAA came in, there was a lot of debate, and nearly after 6 years now, when it seems fully operational, the debates around it have revived. Now, when we are talking about this particular Citizenship Amendment Act, this is one of the largest single batches that we have seen in last 6 years, and that means there is a continued operationalization of this particular law, and this has been in place, this has been working, but the debates might have fizzled out and they are gaining momentum again. So when we start talking so much about Citizenship Amendment Act, let us start with understanding that what exactly it is. So when we talk about Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019, the idea of this particular law was to bring in and provide a fast-track citizenship process for the persecuted minorities, and persecuted minorities have also been defined in this scenario, the persecuted minorities from the neighboring countries. So the countries which were covered, they included Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and the persecuted minorities have also been mentioned like Hindus, then we have Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, Parsis, Christians, and there has been a cut-off date as well. That means that if these migrants have entered our country before 31st December 2014 or on this date, then they are qualified for citizenship based on this particular law. Now, if you see, then this law is directly giving exemption to be categorized as illegal migrants. These people will not be illegal migrants and they would not be covered in the category of illegal migrants under the Passport Act and Foreigners Act, and they will be granted citizenship, that too fast-tracked. And furthermore, they have the relaxed requirement in terms of residency, where it is only for 5 years, not 11 years. Now, when we talk about citizenship in India, Indian citizenship can be acquired by 5 methods. The first method is birth, then we have descent, then we have naturalization, registration, and 5th is incorporation of territory in India. Now, when we are talking about Citizenship Amendment Act, this gives a process for registration in here, and this is where we get to see it is only for, as you see this category, it is only for non-Muslim minorities and from the specific countries around us. Now, this is where it got controversial. We will be moving into that also. I hope you have a basic clarity that what CAA talked about. Now we will be moving to understand that why was CAA introduced and what did government explain. When we are talking about the controversy, we have to understand that the intent, what government gave behind it. So the first rationale that was given, that was the humanitarian ground itself, or based on the fact that there has been a historic injustice which has been faced by non-Muslim minorities, especially in Islamic neighborhoods. So if you find the countries that have been covered, they are majorly Islamic countries in our neighborhood. The second major reason that was given, that this is a corrective cultural policy. India has always been seen as a natural refuge for Indic as well as Christian minorities, and this is the cultural identity that the government wanted to resonate with, and that is why they want to save these minorities from systematic discrimination, and this is a corrective posture that they are taking. Other than that, reasons such as clarification on illegal migration, so that there is a differentiation on the persecuted refugees as well as economic migrants. People who are coming to look for work, they are different. People who are coming because their life is in danger, that is different. And most importantly, another thing that was highlighted from the government's end was the national commitment. They said they are upholding India's civilizational asylum tradition, where we have hosted Tibetans, where we have hosted Parsis and Sri Lankan Tamils as well. So the whole policy position from government ends was simply that CAA is not taking away citizenship from anyone. It is not targeting any specific community. The only idea is to facilitate the cultural identity that we have had, the clarification that comes with it, the national commitment that we have maintained. That is what was said by the government. But it has had a different side as well. So when we look into certain dimensions, especially when we are talking about constitutional dimensions, you will find that this particular law is talking about a religion-based citizenship. And that means it is violating Article 14 of our fundamental rights, which talks about equality, and we are looking at a religious classification which is against the Constitution's very own provision. And it is also the first time that religion is explicitly being made a criteria for citizenship in India. Another thing that has been highlighted in terms of constitutional dimension, that there is a contradiction when we talk about in terms of the secular structure that is maintained. So when we are talking about this particular act, this introduces a majoritarian framework, and citizenship policy cannot be based on that because it directly goes against the secular structure that we have. Another thing that needs to be understood in terms of controversy here is also centered around the fact that as of now, we have multiple pending Supreme Court petitions which already question the constitutional validity, and there has been no exact answer to it as of now. And the whole issue still remains around the arbitrariness about this act, the exclusion of Muslims, and the selective humanitarianism that comes with it. Another dimension apart from the constitutional dimension is the socio-political angle involved that goes beyond just the constitution itself. For example, when we are talking about Northeast Fears and the Assam Accord, when we are saying that it goes against the very structure of the constitution because it is based on a religious parameter, we have to understand that the problem is not just the religious parameter, but it is going to affect the demographics as well. If we are allowing and facilitating any kind of migrant inflow, be it from any religion, then it will threaten the cultural identity of that particular region. And if CAA is bringing in another provision that will facilitate the inflow, especially of Northeast, which has seen a large influx for very long now, and the altered demographic numbers of this region have been a long problem that we have seen. Other than that, Assam Accord, where the cutoff is March 1971, CAA has given a new due date, the cutoff date, which violates it directly. So there are other parameters which make it contentious as well. Apart from that, we get to see the conversation about NRC, that the fear is there that NRC could render undocumented Muslims stateless. So that fear still remains, and the whole point of selectivity in terms of refugee protections. The excluded groups clearly highlight the fact that in this particular scenario, the humanitarianism is being focused towards only one direction. Why not for everyone? So it still has both sides. But when we talk about the news that has come in terms of citizenship certification that is given, This matters importantly, especially at this given time, in multiple angles. We have to understand that as well. So when we talk about this particular news, this has a direct administrative significance immediately in this context. And this shows that the rules that were notified in late March 2024, they are being implemented, and there is a proper procedural precedent in place for future applications of CAA. So no matter what the contentions or the controversy surrounds it, it is functional and there is a proper procedural precedent already in place. Now when we talk about the social significance in this situation, you get to see that refugees, families who have lived decades without legal recognition, now they will be having voting rights, they will be having to access to government welfare, they will have property, passport, proper ownership, and also proper identity documentation. And there is also another political angle involved, that it reinforces the government's narrative that CAA is about protection, it is not about exclusion. So this will also have an impact, and it will also shape up the political discourse where major refugee populations are settled. So can you tell me in the comment section which are the states which are going to see upcoming elections and they have refugees population which can affect those elections as well. Now we have understood the significance of the news that came in. We have undertaken a background check on CAA on both sides, that what was the idea, what are the consequences around it. Now let us in the end just address what are the wider implications when we are talking about Citizenship Amendment Act. Now let us just address that. The first implication that goes beyond our boundaries is in the terms that this is a clear message to Pakistan as well as Bangladesh, especially regarding minority treatment. Furthermore, it will also have an impact on domestic governance because large-scale processing might have an impact on administrative setup that needs to be looked after, and that is something that in future needs to be addressed. Also, direct impact on the demographic that needs to be understood and that needs to be addressed, and the federalism questions that are present, they need to be answered. For example, states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, they expressed opposition to the implementation of CAA, so that needs to be addressed. Federalism is an important part. The states should have proper answer, but at the same time, when states need to have answer, we also need to remember that citizenship is a union subject and states would have to cooperate. But in this situation, a better way to get cooperation would be the discussion, would be the understanding, and that will come with only when government comes to the table and makes sure that the implementation and the issues that are arising, they are appropriately addressed. On this note, I am leaving you with a practice question. You can write down the answers in the comment section, and the correct answer of the yesterday's question here is C. That was all from my side today. Thank you so much.